Adding to the present Palestine troubles, more illegal immigrant ships arrive in Haifa harbor. On board, cargoes of refugees take their first look at the land they are determined to enter at any cost. Although conditions on board were bad, it's thought that the refugees had traveled more comfortably in parent ships for the greater part of their journey, a journey organized by the Jewish underground in Europe. Strong government measures against this menace to security have now been taken. Any further ships will be directed to Cyprus or elsewhere, a determined move to show that Britain's hand will not be forced in framing a new policy for Palestine.
Further exclusive Storm Centre reports from Palestine, where men of the British Army and the Palestine police watched the arrival of a shipload of illegal Jewish immigrants at Haifa. Crowded decks and a packed hold as the newcomers look joyfully towards the land they claim as a national home. So far it looks peaceful and they're welcomed with food and milk. When they get ashore, they'll see what damage has been done to the Jewish cause by the fanatics of the Irgun and Stern terrorist gangs. Already at the other side of the harbour, they can see the burning wreckage of the British tanker Empire Cross. 23 of the tanker's crew are missing after her cargo of high-octane petrol exploded. Stringent security measures are the rule among our Palestine troops today. Nobody gets by without a check and double-check. After taking these exclusive pictures, Pathé cameraman Ken Gordon was detained for 7 hours for a thorough going over. And ashore, in garish, super-modern Tel Aviv, Britain's hardest-worked ambassadors, the ordinary Tommies and policemen, uncover yet another haul of illegal weapons. These were hidden in the Lillian Bloom School. Bringing in the dragon's teeth are men of the 3rd Paratroop Regiment of the 6th Airborne Division. Another dirty job, well done. Star items found were 2 Bangalore torpedoes painted to look like surveyors' poles. Wanted in connection with this haul is a young terrorist Jew. He was last seen on the morning the King David Hotel was blown up at a cost of so many British lives. Meantime, we still keep the uneasy peace between Arab and Jew in Palestine.
Meanwhile, terror descends once again on Palestine as a new wave of violence sweeps the country. Gangs of Jews dynamited the area security office in Tel Aviv, causing several deaths. Without delay, suspected persons are rounded up and identity papers carefully checked. Another danger spot, the suburb of Ramat Gan, is put under curfew, while the entire male population is kept under observation by troops and police. A grave and growing problem for the London Conference and for the world.
In the great synagogue at Tel Aviv, stolen uniforms of many British regiments and bales of forged bearer bonds of the Palestine government have been discovered, in addition to a portable radio transmitter and quantities of illegal weapons and explosives. All this came to light when a false wall in the synagogue was found. The Jewish temple keeper was placed under arrest. 200,000 Jews are being checked by 2 divisions of British troops and Palestine police. 25,000 people are being interrogated each day. Our troops, in sternly guarded surroundings, are looking for members of the notorious Irgun Sfaidiumeh and the Stern gang, suspected of blowing up the King David Hotel in Jerusalem. People with an obvious reason to rejoice are the Arabs, who express themselves in a dance of jubilation.
New savagery flares up in Palestine as terror gangs strike again, this time at the Goldsmith Officers Club in Jerusalem. Covered by small arms fire, the terrorists hurled suitcases full of explosives through the windows of the club, which immediately blew up. Rescue workers were on the spot almost at once, but 19 lives were lost and 26 soldiers and civilians were injured in one of the most cowardly outrages yet borne by our troops. Martial law was immediately proclaimed in Jerusalem, Tel Aviv and other heavily populated areas in which the underground army had its secret hideouts. Strict curfew kept 250,000 in their homes, while everywhere our troops were on patrol, sealing off suspected areas and combing out every street and every house as the big roundup went on. So our forces carry on their long-repeated routine, while the murder gangs continue their open defiance, with deeds which have now become a challenge not only to Britain herself, but to the supreme authority of the United Nations.
Jerusalem has long been the focal point of the still unsolved problem of Palestine. Although in times of comparative peace, Jews and Arabs live side by side and go about their business in the old city of Jerusalem with apparent calm, beneath the surface, bitter enmity has continued to smoulder for years. This is the Wailing Wall, where many Jews have been offering special prayers following the latest outrage by terrorists. And these are scenes in the modern part of the city, contrasting vividly with the old Jerusalem. The King David Hotel itself. It was in the wing on the right of the picture that the terrorists placed their explosive. And the result of the crime, the tragic scene, is like a serious incident during the Blitz. The hotel housed the British Army headquarters and the Palestine government offices, and casualties were very heavy. 65 deaths are reported, and there is little or no hope of survival for any of the 58 missing. Nearly 50 others were injured. The Jewish terrorist organization, Irgun Zwei Leumi, openly admitted responsibility for the bombing. Many arrests have been made. Leaders of the Jewish agency have expressed horror at the dastardly crime perpetrated by a gang of desperados. Mr. Attlee in the House of Commons declared, the British government will not be diverted by acts of violence in their search for a just and final solution of the Palestine problem. President Truman, condemning the wanton act of terrorism, added that America and Britain are conferring on steps to be taken to implement the report of the Anglo-American Palestine Committee. Undoubtedly, the people of Britain anxiously wait for the announcement of a policy which will prevent the loss of any more innocent lives.
Two former American vessels carrying nearly 4,000 Jewish refugees arrive at the port of Haifa, Palestine. Jammed like cattle on the rusty craft, the fugitives end their bleak voyage, which began at a Black Sea port. The death of an infant was first blamed on British tear gas, but examination showed it was accidentally crushed and suffocated on the overcrowded ship. All precautions are taken to prevent the spread of disease as small children debark along with fathers and mothers, all showing the signs of fatigue and illness. The British encounter little trouble transferring the refugees. Mostly the procedure is carried out in an orderly manner as embarkation for Cyprus detention camps takes place. Cyprus, already bursting with refugees, is preferable to deportation to Europe as had been threatened. At Lake Success, New York, The United Nations gives Palestine's problems first consideration. Herschel Johnson, U.S. delegate, backs partition in a message to the Assembly's Special Palestine Committee.
The United States delegation supports the basic principles of the unanimous recommendations and the majority plan which provides for partition and immigration. We refer to assistance through the United Nations in meeting economic and financial problems and the problem of internal law and order during the transition period. The latter problem might require the establishment of a special constabulary or police force recruited on a volunteer basis by the United Nations.
Later, Russia supported the United States on the partition recommendation, while Arab states threatened reprisals, as the Holy Land's future hangs in the balance.